Hi everyone, I'm Vianey Dominguez, and you're listening and watching the Community Leaders Podcast.
What's up? It's your boy Los LOS, and you are watching and listening to Community Leaders Podcast. And today I got a special person across from me. She goes by the name of Vianey Dominguez. What's up, Vianey?
Hi. Hello.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I am doing great. So you have a nickname I just heard.
Yeah.
What does your mom call you?
She'll call me Vivi.
Vivi?
Vivi.
Vivi, awesome. Can I call you Vivi?
You can call me Vivi. I go by V too.
V.
V.
The Vianator.
V, yeah. V would be fine.
Word. So Vianey, Vivi. What do you do? What do you do right now for work? What's your passion right now for work?
At the moment right now, I work for a global financial firm downtown. But before that, I did work for an alderman for the city of Chicago. But in my current role at the moment, I work in operations. I'm sorry. I forgot what I did. I'm an operations associate for my firm. And we do a little bit of everything depending on what the company, what they're looking for, the service that we provide. We provide like credit opinions, annual review, and I kind of help with the work that goes behind putting the reports.
Okay.
Yeah.
You said credit something?
Credit opinion.
What is credit? What is a credit opinion? Like you look at my credit and you give me an opinion. You suck. Oh, what is it?
We do ratings for different companies, believe it or not, and it kind of has a bit of that, But we do look at the finances for different companies, and I don't know how they're doing.
And you give them an opinion. Yeah. Well, right now I don't think
they get rated.
I don't think right now you could get a car because you're. Our opinion is
not like that, but it's like a different type of rating for the company and how they're performing. Looking at all the finances from everything.
Okay.
But
what else you do in that role again?
So that's what I do at my job. Mm-hmm. But other than that, another thing I do, or another role that I do have. Recently, I became a board member for a nonprofit in North Lawndale.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So how long have you been working at your job?
I just got hired in January, so not that long.
Not too long. Are you liking it?
I like it. It's very, very interesting. I'm learning a lot, and I've told people, I walk in thinking I know everything, and I walk out learning a new thing every day. And, even when I got in the interview that I did before, when I applied for the job, they were like, you are going to be learning all the time. Like, you're not going to know everything. Mm-hmm. And even when I started there, my first day, they put the expectation there. They were like, you're not going to be a pro in a month, in 2, maybe in a year and a half. Because, it's like a job where, you're always, learning and picking up on, things. And I feel like I do every day. I pick up on a new little thing where I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. Oh, now I know how to do that, right? But I'm constantly learning. My brain is whoa.
Yeah, I love learning myself. Something new, today, my intern taught me something new, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. What you teach me one time and I got it, I'm going to roll with it, and I'm like, okay, now I can do that, and I feel a little special about myself. So I get that. So now you're doing something with North Lawndale, you said.
Yeah.
What exactly are you doing now?
So I'm a board member for a nonprofit called Fuel Movement. So I got involved with them when I worked for the city of Chicago. I would do a lot of outreach with them, and they had a very tiny Latino population in there. And when I came in, I think in a really good time. It was during the migrant crisis that we were getting. Mm-hmm. A bunch of people that were coming from Venezuela into the city of Chicago. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them were they were in Little Village, North Lawndale, and they didn't have anyone that worked there. They knew Spanish. And I was able to jump in and help them out and communicating, kind of bring them together too. And I worked with them for maybe about a year and a half. During that time, I became really close with the founder of the nonprofit. And, we built a relationship. Not only that, but I feel like I built a relationship with the community. I met families. We became very close. Mm-hmm. I love talking to people, and I'll be like, hey, how are you? And, da-da-da. And by the time I left my previous job, I remember getting a phone call, and I was actually in my lunch, and then they were like, "Hey, like, do you?" And it was from I'm sorry, it was from the founder, and he went like, "Hey, like, can I talk to you? Do you have a minute?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure. Like, what can I help you with? Like, let me know." And he went like, "Yeah, like, we have an opening for a board member and for the nonprofit, and we want to bring you along." And I'm like, "Oh," I'm like, "Okay." So right away, I didn't tell him I want to do it. I kind of went like, "Okay, like, let me think about it. I don't want to jump on it like that." Mm-hmm. And I told him like, "You know what? Let me think about it. I'll get back to you and I'll let you know." But I'm like, "Thank you for thinking of me. I really appreciate that." And we left it like that. And, I have my new job, coming up too. Yeah. So I'm like, I kind of want to make sure I have time for me to, get used to my new job and, think about what I wanted to do moving forward. But I knew that, even if I left when I left my previous role, that I wanted to continue to do work in the community, mm-hmm. right? And for me, I always want to help in any way that I can, even if I don't have much. I'm like, I want to give back one way or another. And I already have built like a really good relationship with the founder, the organization, and the people that work there. And I thought about it, and I'm like, I think it's only fair if I join, right? And we just had our first meeting back in March. So we're going to have another one in April. So
Awesome. So what exactly are you going to be doing there?
Yeah. So practically what I'm going to be doing, just going to be like play a role in the decisions that they make about the organization, like money or, other programs that they might help, might add to the organization. But that's what I'm primarily going to be doing. And it's like me and a bunch of other incredible leaders like from Chicago that either they work in like North Lawndale, they're from North Lawndale, or, they can bring in something for the community too.
So what programs do they have now?
Right now, they have I think they have a fitness program. I think they were working on a gaming program for the children in the community. Like mm-hmm. They're trying to get a room to have video games for kids, to go hang out.
Hang out stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, because in the area where they're located on Cermak mm-hmm. and between, not on Ogden, but it's on Cermak in 2022, that big boulevard kind of.
I do.
Yeah, so it's pretty empty, and mm-hmm. I feel like they bring a lot of light, and so
okay,
it's pretty good.
So you're being a light to the community.
Yeah. I hope I hope I do. Yeah.
So I want to get into your life a little bit. Let the viewers know who you are.
Oh no.
what makes VV tick? So if you could imagine yourself as a little girl, 10 years old, who were you at 10 years old?
Ooh. Oh my God. I've never been asked that question before. Okay.
That's because I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, now you're making me think. I'm like, what did I do when I was 10?
And those memories are coming to you.
Yeah, now I'm thinking about it. Wow. Well, I'm the oldest daughter of immigrant parents, so mm-hmm. that's the one thing I always let people know. My parents came here with nothing. I'm the eldest out of 4. So you can imagine how that was growing up. And I always helped my parents taking care of the other 3 that we had. Mm-hmm. I think my mom at that time, my little brother was probably 1. Yeah. And I remember helping her take care of him a lot and taking care of my other siblings too while she worked, because she had a full-time job. My dad had 2 of them to, provide for everyone in the household. But yeah, I think I was just...
Who were you?
Who was... I don't know. I was I think I was very independent growing up. One thing I would always get that, very independent. And I think, I don't know if it's because of I'm the eldest daughter of my parents or, but I was told from a very young age, you come off very independent. I like to protect the people that I love, fight for them too if I have to. And, I always took care of my siblings. I took care of me. I took care of everyone that I could. And I think I was always a very independent individual.
Were you the kid to run around the block, ride your bike, climb some trees?
I I was very athletic actually too. Yeah, I used to play soccer, and my mom, I don't know why, she signed me up for like a team that was like co-ed. So it was only like 4 girls, like even including me and a bunch of guys. So I was a very like tomboyish girl too. Like I was not afraid to get hit. Like I'm like, hit me, like it's okay. So I was very athletic. I like running around. I did. What is it? I played the violin. Okay. I like playing the violin. Yeah. Would have loved it to have continued to learn how to play the violin, but unfortunately, that did not happen. But I always like loved the violin. Classical music was another thing that I love. But also being athletic, and because I'm like, oh, I'm cool, right? You know, it was fun. But I always like, I had really good friends too that, you know, I was able to like hang out after school. So we had to do like practice in the park for like a game. That was really fun to do. And I always really look forward to that. And I'm like, man, can it be 3 already? Because I'm like, I'm trying to leave and, you know, go to the park and, you know, practice with my team.
That's awesome. Yeah. See how things come back to you when you just got to think about it for a second.
Yeah.
And you're like,
It's just like now I'm an adult. I don't think I think about that anymore. Now I'm like thinking about like what I'm doing now.
It's always good to go back and say, man, I had a good childhood. It was pretty cool.
It was good. It was good.
You know?
It was good. I think that kind of helped me, built me into who I am today. Yeah.
So that was 10 years old. Now we're going to be moving on to, let's say, 14, 15.
Oh, no.
Who was Vivi?
Oh, my God. Well, I think I didn't change much, but the one thing I do recall like doing when I was 15 was probably getting my first job. I got my first job where, for the record, I was getting paid under the table. Getting paid under the table.
Was it a restaurant?
Yeah. It was like a restaurant, but, you know, the owner at the time, he would like, the kids in the neighborhood would go and like play like soccer or football like in a park, and he would just take a bunch of candy and have us like, you know, sell it. And it was like cash only. And then and it was just like during the weekend, and he would be like, yeah, like you'll get paid, like we would get paid like $150 for the whole weekend.
Well, that's not bad for what, 15-year-old?
Yeah.
That's not bad at all.
I mean, not bad. And then my dad worked for that guy, and then he got my brother to join too. So he was getting paid $150 like me to work on the weekend. And then where my dad worked, it was like a burger place, and we would get like a free burger after work, and we're like, oh, okay, like we get a free meal, right? All right. And $150 in my pocket.
Let's go, cash.
Like I'm like, okay, period.
Right. At 15 years old,
yeah,
I'm rich.
Yeah, I mean, I thought at the time. Now that I think about it, I'm like, with inflation, and I'm like, no, bro, I was making nothing.
Yeah,
I was not making anything. But yeah, that was pretty much me at 15, and, you know, trying to help my mom and dad with, like, you know, providing too. Because, you know, it was 4, and honestly, now that I think about it, I don't know how my mom and dad managed to provide for 4 people other than them.
Wow. And,
you know, even when I think about children, I love children, but I think about it from, like, a financial point of view. And oh my God, I'm gonna cry. Okay. So I always knew that they needed help, like financially, and kind of had to, like, you know, jump in and help. So
how did that make you feel, being that young and having to jump in and kind of be like mom, because, you know, everyone's working, everyone needs, you know.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't make me. It's not like they were like, you need to work, you need to get a job. No, but it was like I knew they needed help. I knew we had like the link at one point, and my mom, they took it away at one point, and then, you know, she could barely afford to feed 4 people, and sometimes we would just eat, like, you know, frijolitos with beans, and that would be all. And it would be like lentejas, like, lentils, and that was it. And, it was little things, like we had food, but it wasn't like, we wouldn't have like meat every day, right? And I knew, and we talk about it now, and they did what they could, and I'm very grateful for everything that they did. Like, they did what they could. But I knew I needed to help, I always knew. I always knew that there was like money issues. Like, I remember my parents, like my dad got laid off one time from work. He didn't get fired. They were just like, oh, like we can't pay you. And I think this happened like during the recession time in like '09, I think, '08. And I remember my mom was panicking, like, oh my God, like how are we gonna pay rent? Oh my God, like, And I don't know how they did it, but my dad and my mom, whether they would get laid off or fired, like they would always manage to have a job like within a week. And they made sure that we had a roof and food, right? That we had food in our stomach every day. And it made me, at times I would feel bad for them, but deep down, like, it made me feel happy that I was able to help them.
Yeah.
Because that's what you want to do, like, I think for me, I always want to be able to help. And even now, like we live in the same building, but like different apartments. And even now, like I always go like, do you need anything? Like, do you need money? Like sometimes I'll just send my mom money and she'll be like, you didn't have to. And I'm like, I know I don't have to, but if it helps, it's fine,
Yeah.
And, after that, my brother, I think I started working at 15, and then I started working once I turned the legal age. I got a proper job, and I worked in restaurant for many years, actually, before I could get to where I am today. But I feel like all of that really helped me and shaped me into who I am, because of that, I know that I cannot treat people however I want. I worked in the food industry, and there were times where like people would treat you like you're nothing.
Yeah.
Oh, they just treat you like they're better than you, right? And thankfully, I do thank my mom, like, thank you for making me work, because like now I know that when I go out, I don't treat people like shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
That I'm treating them like human beings.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry about that.
I might have to ask Alex if that's okay.
Forgive me. But, that's one thing my family...
This is the first time someone swears.
I'm so sorry. Cut. No.
It's coming from the heart. But it's right.
No, and because of that, we always tell my mom, like, because all of my siblings, they work, even the little one who's about to go to college in the fall. We all like understand what it means to like work hard, but also like treat people like they're humans, right?
Right.
And you never know, they could have a bad day and people come in and like talk bad to them.
Yeah.
And I remember having to be like, have a good day. Like, thank you.
Smile,
like,
yeah.
you have to put it up, right?
Yeah.
And you could be going through a lot, and people going in there, like, they treat you like you're nothing. And to me, there's been times where, like, we go out to eat and people come in and I remember this one time we went out to eat, and I think it was during COVID or something, and people were like, oh, my God. Our waiter came and she went, like, our food was, like, a whole hour late. And then they were like, oh, like, I'm so sorry. She went, like, our cook just walked out. A bunch of them walked out. So they had to make the food. Mm-hmm. And then, like she went, like, I have to make your food. Like, my bad. Like, I'll be back. And I remember being like, oh, my God. Like, if that would have been me, like, I would have freaked out. I would have been like, I want to cry. I want to leave. And I could have walked out with them too, right? And I remember the girl going, like, oh, like, I'll bring your food. Like, I'm so sorry. And we were like, no, like, don't worry about it. Like, you're going to get your tip. Don't worry about it, right? And that's one thing my family, since we all worked in restaurant, we understand that. Mm-hmm. We're very, like, empathetic about that. Mm-hmm. We're very much like, it's okay, And I always tell people, like, working in a restaurant is not for the weak. Definitely not for the weak.
Right. Have you ever had somebody walk out on you, the cook, walk out on you?
On me?
'Cause I can't even imagine that she had to deal with the chef, the cook,
front girl,
gone, and she's like, wait a second, I got all these people in this room here, and they're waiting for their food. It's like, wow, now she has to jump in and help out. And like you said, has that ever happened to you when you were working in the restaurants?
Thankfully, no. Thankfully, no, but the one thing it would go, like, I would think in my head, I'm like, just like imagine it, I would have cried. I would have cried and be like, I hate my job, which, yeah, working in restaurant is just really tough. Yeah. Like the pressure, you have to like, my mom would be like, you have to move, like muévete. You have to be movidita, right? Yeah, yeah. And I remember when she told me one time, if you can dominate the kitchen working in a restaurant and you got it down, she'll be like, when you go to the real world and get a real job where like you're getting paid a lot, she'll be like, you're going to be fine. Because the scariest thing you're probably going to face will be working here. But if you got it down and you're good at it, she's like, you're not going to be afraid of like an office job. Mm-hmm. Like you're not going to be afraid to go on your laptop and like, you know, do work. And she was not wrong. Like she was not wrong. And you know, I tell people like I dominated that field. I'm okay. And I used to work with men in the kitchen, in the line, where, you know, you got to tell them like, you know, you got to show them that you're not afraid of them. Mm-hmm. And you got to be like, you can't mess with me. Because I may be 4'11", but homie, no. And yeah, I used to remember it was not many girls. There were times where like I would work in restaurants where like it was only like one girl or two or three. And then it's like a bunch of men. But all the women that I work with too, like they're very admirable. Like they do an incredible job. Like they're really good at what they do. And I will learn from them. And even now, there'll be times where like, you know, I'll go like, if they're still working there, I'll go check up on them and be like, hey, how are you? You know?
So you're working in a restaurant and going to school at the same time.
Yeah.
So how was that? How was school while you were working at the restaurant? How did that look?
That was another thing too. I think it was really hard. And I remember when I graduated, I think I cried a little bit. I did cry because it was a really rough time. And then COVID happened too, you know. My mom and dad got laid off. And, oh my God. They got laid off. And I remember my brother and I, we're like 1 year apart. We were like the only two people working at the time. And we were covering the rent. We were covering the food. And I couldn't be mad about it. I couldn't be crying about it because my mom and dad already like felt really bad because they were like, we can't provide. And oh my God. Yeah, I remember my mom crying at the fact that she didn't have a job, that she couldn't provide. And I'm like, I can't even be mad that I have a job, that I have to go to work. And then I was paying tuition at the time too. Yeah.
Alex, bring me some tissue, please.
I was crying, and I remember I'm like, I couldn't even be like mad because I'm like, they don't have a job, but I do, right? And my brother and I remember we got the oh my God, so sorry. Okay. We got the check. Mm-hmm. That people were like, oh, like, you know, it was during Trump again, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. And everybody's like, oh, we're getting money. And, you know, while people were throwing money away, buying, you know, throwing it away to Target or whatever, buying whatever they needed, I went and I gave it to my mom. And I was like, do whatever you want with it. And she was like, no, you don't have to. And I'm like, I know I don't have to, but I know you need to pay bills. I know you probably need to pay the light bill. You need to pay, I don't know. But I'm like, use your money. And my brother, too. My brother, thankfully, he was able to help, too. And it was just really hard. And that was a very hard time. And I think I blocked it like everyone. Everyone talked about, like, blocking that from their memory. But it felt like I had to be, like, I have to do it, everything on my own. And I remember going home. I couldn't, like, before I walked in through my house, I would always be like, if I had a shitty day at work, I'd just breathe and be like, we're going to be happy. Like, we're going to be happy and we're going to be like, hey, like, how are you doing, right? Because it was a really hard time for everyone. Mm-hmm. And my mom was not having a good time either. And I remember I would walk in through the door and be like, hi, like, how was your day? Like, hi, mommy. Like, how are you? Like, hi, like, how's everything going? You know, I couldn't even be mad about anything. And I do remember crying in my room or at night doing homework, like 3 a.m, and be like, I hate my life. Like, why do I have to struggle? Like, I hate being poor. And yeah, like it almost broke me, but I'm like, if I break, who's going to pick everyone up, right? And I kind of knew that I had to pick up my family, but I also couldn't, like, take a break from college because I did think about that. Like, maybe I should take a break. Maybe I should just, drop for now and go back again later. But I was like, I can't do that right now. So I kind of had to, like, push through. And that was a really rough time for everyone at home. And, everything got a little bit better. My mom did get a job at a factory after, but it was really hard because she had never worked in, like, factory either. And that was another thing. Like, I remember her complaining about, like, her eyes hurting a lot. She was like, oh, they hurt. Like, it's really hard to, like, pick up the pallets, or I don't know how they do work factory, but she remembers, like, she'd be like, oh, like, my eyes hurt a lot. And again, she needed money for that. I gave her money for that too, to go to the doctor. But moving forward, still in college, like, there were times where I did have 2 jobs, and I had my internship that I was not getting paid for too, which, I mean, I loved it, and I loved the work that I did there too. But it was really hard because people are like, how'd you do it? And I have friends going like, how did you ever manage to do 2 jobs, an internship, and go to school full time? And I'm like, I don't know. It's like, I think it's a mentality. Because for me, it's always like time is something that we make up or that we made up. But for me, I would go to work, go to school after, like, from 5 to 8, and then get home, like, around 10. I would take a nap, and then I would tell my brother or my sister and be like, hey, like, I'm going to take a nap. Wake me up when my alarm goes off. So I'll wake up, like, at 11:30 p.m. to do homework. I'll do homework from, like, 11 or 11:30 till, like, 3 in the morning, and then go to bed, and then wake up at, like, 7 or 6 in the morning to go to work. And it was rough. There were days where, like, I probably would only sleep, like, 4 or 5 hours and then, keep going. But it definitely has shaped me into the individual that I am today, because I'm like, if I can do it, I can do anything. If I was able to do that and overcome all of that, I can do anything. And there's the mentality that I have, like, if I can do that, if I did that during a really hard time, I can do anything. And in my family, I mean, they know, they're very, like, they'll remind me, they're like, we're very proud of you and everything that you do. And, and I hope they are, because, I mean, at the end of the day, I do it for them too, not only for me. And I tell my mom, like, I'm like, Mommy, everything that I do is for you too. It's not only for me. And, I'm here because you decided to come here, right? If that wouldn't have happened, I wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be here. And everything that I do it for them too. Although they're like, no, do it for you. I'm like, no, like, I'm doing it for you too.
So, but we kind of skipped a little bit. We went from 12. I'm sorry, from 15.
Yeah.
Right, grammar school-ish to college. What in between? What happened in between there? High school.
Ooh.
How's high school for you?
It wasn't, like, bad, but, like, I feel like I was very quiet during that time. I was working. I went to a military academy.
Okay. Which one?
Phoenix Military Academy.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Heard of it?
Yeah, when I tell people that, they're like, were you a bad kid? I'm like, no.
Were you a bad
I
kid?
I don't know why people have that idea or, like, assumption.
It's because back in the day we used to tell people, we're going to send you to the army or the military school.
Yeah.
They were bad. My mom told me that when I was a kid a bunch of times. You're going to a military school. I'm like, no, I don't want to go to military school.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I was not a bad kid. I think I was a very good kid. I think, from my opinion. I don't think I gave my parents, like, a headache or anything.
You chose that school, right?
I did.
Yeah,
I did.
yeah.
They were like, did you? I'm like, I did. They're like, why? I'm like, I wanted a challenge. I wanted to try something new, a new neighborhood, new people, which I did, A lot of the people that I graduated with were going to the local ones that were like near the area, like Fairgate, Little Village High School, Curie. And I'm like, man, I'm like, girl, going there. But I'm like, we already been together for a whole decade. I'm like, I kind of want to meet other people, But since I really didn't know anyone, I was very shy. Because I didn't really think about, like, new environment. I don't know anyone. And I was, like, a very shy kid, I think. Very quiet, but I was very average, too, with school. I mean, I did care about it, but I was like not like on the honor roll. I was very average. One thing I did try while being there, they had like archery. When you like
bow and arrow.
Yeah. So all the things that I always wanted to do and I couldn't because my parents didn't have the money. If I went somewhere where they had them, I would always take the opportunity and be like, oh, I want to try that for fun. Like, hey,
Awesome.
I tried that. I did compete too. It was really cool. I mean, I would highly recommend it. I had a really good time. But yeah, I think I was very more like quiet back in high school, I think. Very different from college me too. I think high school me was very different than the college me. Now that I think about it, we were very different people, I think. But the only thing that was very similar was that I was working during that time too. So I was always like running to hop on the train to.
It seems like you've been working since you were 14 years old.
Yeah, I've always been working. I don't think I've had a year where I'm like I'm not working, and yeah, like even when I'm not working or I feel like I'm gonna take a day off, like I feel like, man, I'm not doing anything. I'm a huevona.
I should be doing something.
I should be doing something. And I don't know. Like me, and I think about it. I'm like, why do I feel like that? And I've thought about it, like maybe because I've been working my whole life, right? Yeah,
because I just thought about that right now, what you just said. I said 14 but really it was around 9 years old when you were selling the candy in the park.
Actually, I think it might have been before that.
It was younger.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
7?
I was in kindergarten.
I
can tell you, actually.
Really?
If you want. Yeah, I can tell you. Oh. So one thing I didn't, maybe you should have brought it up maybe earlier, right? My mom had me here, but she went back when I was about a year. She went back to Mexico. So I grew up a very big portion of my childhood in Mexico. And my mom, that's where she had my brother, Pedro. And then she was there until Pedro was like maybe about a year, and then she came back here. But I stayed there with my grandparents, and they ran a bakery. They had like a little convenience store and a bakery, and they always have fresh, bread every day. And I remember I always wanted to help out. It's just V, right? I always wanted to help out, and there were times where like they had leftover bread, and so I would tell my abuelita, hey, like, do you want to put that in a basket? And like I'll go sell it around our little town, right?
And what age was this?
I was like 5 or 6 maybe. And I had like these ideas. I don't know where I got them from. I don't know. But I would be like, I want to help out, right? Because like, they had their store, but they were struggling financially at times, and I always wanted to help. And I remember telling my abuelita, like, hey, like, I'm like, mommy, like, do you want to put the bread in a basket? And like, I'll go sell it. And we lived in like a little town in Veracruz. And I remember she would like put it in a little basket. And I would just go door knocking on my neighbors who lived in the pueblito. And they already knew who I was because they're like, oh, la nieta de Don Pedro, So they already knew me. And I would just go around like in my neighbor, like, the little pueblito, my neighbors that live there. And I would just go door knocking and be like, hey, like, do you want bread? Like, like I have bread, right? And it was just like I would sell it for like 1 peso, like each little piece, right? And by then I knew how to count up to 10. So I'm like, okay, like you're taking, okay, I know how many you're taking. I know how much I'm collecting. And I remember, and then I would just come back with like my empty basket, and my grandma would be like, oh, here, like here's some money, like, you know.
You've been an entrepreneur all your life.
I think I have. But I do remember that. And I always tell people like, no, that was not my first job. Like I work with my grandparents too, like, you know, and, you know, oh my God, my grandma died. She already passed away, both of them, unfortunately, but she was very hardworking. And my mom is very hardworking. And therefore I feel like, damn, like my mom feels like, oh, I could never be like my mother. Like she was really hardworking, but I feel like I can't be like my mother because I'm like, you're too hardworking. Like, you know,
everyone's hardworking.
Everyone's, you know, but but I do remember that, and I always tell people, my grandma gave me my first job. My grandma gave me my first job.
Awesome. So now, right? We went through. Wow, I could say 5 or 6 years old now because we went back. Went through. You're 10 years old. We went to your high school ages. We went to your college through COVID, a tough time through COVID.
Yeah.
And we're here now, right? We're here now. So what are your plans when you help out, when you're giving back and you're helping out people? What are your plans there? Because that's what you're kind of doing right now, right? And you're learning a lot from being in CLF as well. First of all, let me ask you, how is CLF helping you out?
Yeah. So it's definitely a great program. It has definitely helped me build a family because, you know, I do feel like I've met incredible people that, you know, that look like me. You know, a lot of these people on TV, they look not like me or not like many of them, right? And a lot of them, you know, they're doing incredible work in their own way. Like, believe it or not, I admire a lot of them. I look up to them. They're doing their magic in their own way, and it has definitely given me a lot of resources for sure. People to connect with too, because like, you know, they always try to keep all the fellows together and bring them together and get to know each other, for sure. But I think it has definitely given me confidence too. A lot of the fellows, they want to do great things, and I'm sure they will accomplish everything that they want to accomplish in life.
Some of them are doing it right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, definitely has given me a lot of confidence that I could do it too, right? And, you know, just meeting other people that have very similar backgrounds like I do, right? A lot of them came from very humble neighborhoods that, you know, you think like, oh, they're going to end up pregnant. They're going to end up, you know, killed or shot, right? So it's definitely given me a lot of, you know, confidence that I can do a lot too, you know, and together even more, right? We can make a bigger impact. But definitely, you know, I love the fact that, you know, they bring in a bunch of people that, you know, really do represent the areas where we're from. Like, you know, we represent, you know, every area in the West Side, and also West Side,
the best side.
Period. But you know, like you don't often see that. You know, they don't show that on the news. They don't show that anywhere else. It's just like a bunch of people.
They don't show all the good stuff that you guys are doing on the West Side.
Literally.
And me being a part of CLF and interviewing you all, I've seen like, wow, you guys are doing this, you guys are doing that, and nobody knows about it. At least on the North Side, we don't know about it. We just think the West Side is just the West Side. No, West Side is doing some big things on the West Side. There's movement on the West Side.
Yeah.
There's growth on the West Side.
We're doing a lot.
And there's a lot of faith right now on the West Side to build. And I love that. And I love that you're jumping in and you're helping that out too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think we're doing incredible work, but you know, you don't hear that. And again, a lot of the people too that are they have power don't look like us. They don't. But it's giving me hope for the future that we will get there. We will all get there, you know, all of them, because they're all, oh my God, they're not ready for it. But I know they're going to do great things. We're all going to do it, you know.
So how are you planning to do those great things? How are you planning to move on the West Side?
I love this question. No, what I do plan on doing after I'm done learning what I need to learn where I'm currently am, my plan would be to eventually become a diplomat. And I've had a dream for that.
Let's go.
Yeah. I do want to go back to the public sector, but I do want to be a diplomat for sure. I think that would be moving forward in a couple of years, because I do not want to work under Cheeto Man right now.
Okay.
But with everything happening at the federal level, at the moment, I think I'm going to put like a little pause on that.
Okay.
And then prep for that and eventually move there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Working there.
Very cool. Mm-hmm. So, the next 5 years.
Okay.
What is your next 5 years looking like?
Like in
Which
general?
is almost the same question, but more detailed. Where you want to be in 5 years?
Oh my God. Well, I do want to be a diplomat. I hope that I am a diplomat by then, for sure.
Could be your personal life too.
Oh, no. I mean, maybe. I'm putting it out there, but, it's a maybe. Maybe married. You never know.
Okay,
maybe.
Okay. Uh-huh.
I hope. If not, it's okay. Not the end of the world. Not the end of the world. I'm going to look forward into life. But yeah, and like maybe, hopefully, I buy a property and move my family in there, or my mom, I feel like they definitely deserve everything in the world. And in my eyes, they do. Especially my mom and dad, I feel like they've worked very, very hard. And, I want to make sure that I'm financially stable to a point where, like, if they have to fall, they can fall on me. Right?
Wow.
And that's what I want to be. Like, I don't think a lot of people know that, but I'm like, when I say that I do everything for them, I really do. Because, at the end of the day, they have nothing to fall on, right? And I want to make sure that I'm at the point in my life where, like, if they have to fall, they can fall on me. Yeah. So, yeah.
So, last question. If you had a superpower, what would it be?
Oh, my God. What would it be? I think it would be... I think joy. Just joy, like happiness maybe for people.
You would be like a Care Bear, and you just
like a little Care Bear, right?
Spread that joy.
Like bring joy, because life can be hard.
Mm-hmm.
Life can be hard, and I try to bring joy like to people, whether I make a really dumb joke, right? But I think just bringing joy. I would love to do that. And I feel like I've done that to a couple of people, and they've told me, they're like, oh my God, they've told me like, not only on my birthday, but then like, you're like a light. They're like, you bring a lot of joy. You've helped me in times where like no one would help me. And you just, you're like a light to my life. And so I think joy for sure. Happiness for people.
That's mad dope. So I want to thank you for coming down to Community Leaders Podcast. Vivi, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.